global warming, extinction of species, and possible nuclear winter. Whew. Oh, and by the way, that's daddy in Finnish, which I am. Um, I don't know. Some good news actually. I uh, I understand that Peru is planning to plant 2 million hectares of trees to patch up the Amazonian rainforest. Um, Germany has a Marshall Plan for Africa, and at least at some point I read somewhere that Obama uh, is um, putting TPP away, on hold, taking it back. Um, well, of course, I believe that when I see it, that the Republicans won't have TPP, uh, but which is it's a total and absolute disaster. Uh, but we'll see. Um, then not so good news. I understand that there was a severe terrorist, again, how you want to put it, attack in Pakistan. Was it Balochistan? Again, a lot of suffering, and I'm so sorry. And that brings me. I'm gonna still go on with this same subject, and then after this, I'm done with it. But it brings me to my next thingy, which is I said, I've said that there's is my opinion that the Third World War isn't coming. That does not mean that civil wars don't come, and that doesn't mean that a possible nuclear war isn't coming. And it really would be nice if well, I have to study it. It really would be nice if India and Pakistan would just cool it down a little bit. Um, and again, when one talks about studying and learning more, uh, one does have to, you know, give one's condolences to Libya. Really, it was even more than it was Hillary Clinton's fault. It was the fault of the European Union, that the whole disaster that pretty much destroyed Libya. I am so sorry. And of course, I have to say, give my apologies to Russians. Uh, the sanctions were out of place. Actually, I have to do a rant about Russia and its and what it has done and what has been done to it. But the sanctions were wrong. The economic sanctions were wrong. I'm so sorry. Anyway, now I hope I get to finish my point. Now, for example, Finland comes from completely different direction than the United States. In the United States, you've had giant corporations that have taken over the media, which then is just it's a way of entertaining people. Really, I mean, yesterday or day before, right after an absolute disaster of an election, Wolf Blitzer, what an he was interviewing first Bernie Sanders and some time later Dr. Jane Sanders. And pretty much the main point that he was interested with Senator Sanders and Dr. Sanders was, is Bernie Sanders going to run in 4 years? We may not be here in 4 years, you dipstick. Or does Bernie think that if he would have run, he would have had a better chance against Trump? That's a question that Blitzer should have asked, 6 months ago. Of course. And it was very interesting. Right after the election was over, suddenly MSNBC, for Morning Joe, had a huge amount of material about the Rust Belt and the people who voted for Trump, which was completely absent before the election. Again, I mean, you couldn't even accidentally have them keep on the issues. It's just a big show, and again, it's pretty much carved in stone in the United States. It's been made law that these channels, they have to be entertainment. But anyway, in Finland we come from another direction, really. We had everything absolutely fine before the giant corporations took over. In the United States, the giant corporations came first and took over. In Finland, they had nothing, and then they came and they're trying to take over. And I'm asking, is that the same thing in Europe? Because again, now let's have the European media. So far, again, the more I learn, the more I know. Again, they've had absolutely no idea what's been going on with Russia. They've had no clue what went on in Libya. They have no clue what Syria is all about. And again, they tend to, forget that, all the refugees who haven't gone anywhere. Then of course I understand that it is possible that the absolutely dreadful North Korean dictatorship might be falling. Again, I haven't heard a peep from the European media, and that of course, if the Kim Jong-il is it at the moment, government is gonna crash, that cannot be anything but good. Oh, unlike of course the United States, I don't understand. I cannot believe it that at no point have I ever said to all the United Statians, that I am so sorry for all that is about to happen. All that you're gonna receive from the Mike Pence administration. It's gonna be, as far as it can be, hell. And I am so sorry. But anyway, the European media. Now, for example, pretty much this whole year, this 2016, the main narrative, and I've alluded to this before, the main narrative was, they've lumped all these things together. Brexit, Trump, every now and then poor Bernie Sanders and all the right-wing populists, anybody from Victor Idiot Orban to Le Pen in France, anyone, they, and anybody who wants to be a player, they've lumped all these forces together and said and pitted them against globalization and outsourcing jobs, you know, whatever hegemony of giant corporations, which in a strange way again may be true, but it's completely besides the point. The idea again is to actually make things clear and not unclear. At this point it's almost like propaganda, which says, you know, that you know, you have all these loonies here and all this uncertainty and all these strange things that they say, and then you have globalization and all the horrors that it brings on the other side. It's much, you know, much safer just to have things as they go, you know, as they are, keep on going, and not have anything to do with this basket of deplorables. But there is a problem. Now, firstly, of course, Trump, for example, he's not a politician. He's a snake oil salesman. He's a complete fraud. He's a con artist. And again, how on earth was that not clear to anyone? And I guess it still isn't clear to many people in Europe, because they haven't been any better informed than the people in the United States. He's a con artist. He's not a politician. And all these right-wing politicians here and people with Brexit, they are actually politicians. They are just opportunists, but they are politicians. Which are completely professional politician who's an opportunist is a completely different thing than a con man, really. And what happened in the United States with Trump is not the same thing than what happened with Brexit. The people who voted for Brexit, they had a point. The people who voted for Trump did not. They were simply misinformed. People who voted for Brexit were not. Trump cannot stitch a sentence, a coherent sentence together if his life depended on it. Somebody like Nigel Farage, who may be a dickhead, but he can. He doesn't speak like a 9-year-old. Completely different things. And then, of course, poor Bernie Sanders, who is not only a professional politician, but actually one of the only decent politicians in modern times. He has nothing to do with all these maniac right-wingers. And again, you cannot put all of these things which are actually different and about different things together and then try to make something like globalization the hero. Globalization, bad, very bad. This free market and free trade, which isn't actually free or in any way, or even trade, bad, very bad. Outsourcing jobs, very bad. Free trade agreements, very bad. And nothing to do with right-wing maniacs. And again, for example, the Finnish media, their coverage of any of these, what's happening in the world, is completely wrong. Let's say the North Dakota Access Pipeline. The news on that are completely wrong. They just whitewash the whole thing like an Obama government. And again, let's say this will connect to some other of my rants, but I wanted to start on this. Is the European media as impossible as the US one.